Good morning and welcome to this presentation. My name is Danson Njue. I'm a senior analyst with Omdia. The topic of the presentation is East Africa Market Outlook and Trends to Watch 2022. The agenda is divided into three sections. First is the market status and outlook. Second is the trends to watch. And third is the Omdia view. And after that, I will also welcome some questions from the audience. So if we start with the market, mobile market update, we see that the East Africa region had a total of 324 million mobile subscriptions by the end of 2021. And this was a 7.5% year-on-year growth. The growth is a good indication that the region is recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of the effects or the impacts. And we also have a new development where the region welcomed a new member, which is the DRC. DRC is a big market with about 44 million mobile subscriptions and a mobile penetration of 47%, and that's by the end of 2021. So this clearly shows that this is a market which has a huge potential for growth. And the fact that it's now part of the East Africa region, we expect to see a lot of growth in the coming years. And looking at the revenue, we saw the total mobile revenue grow by or decline by 0.4% year on year in 2020 in 4Q21. The reason for this obviously is can be looked from the fact that the region has been experiencing a lot of inflation and the local currencies are also very weak. Bearing in mind that mobile operators and other service providers buy equipment in terms of dollars, this obviously has had a very big impact on their operations. But overall, the growth of mobile data revenue and other digital services revenue and also the mobile financial services revenue has been very high, and I think that's the reason why we see a lot of this revenue increasing in 2021. Looking at the fixed broadband segment, East Africa is a region which is not very well connected in terms of the fixed infrastructure, but the fixed broadband subscriptions have been growing quite tremendously. In 2021, the total subscriptions increased by 20.4% and totaled 1.76 million. Well, over the COVID-19 pandemic period, we saw a lot of consumers opting for the fixed broadband services due to the fact that it delivers very high bandwidth. And obviously, as people changed their habits to working from home, schooling from home, and also entertaining from home, fixed broadband subscription and particularly fiber became a good option compared to the mobile broadband. And that's why we see a lot of growth in terms of the subscriptions. Despite that growth rate, East Africa region still lags behind in terms of the fixed broadband household penetration, with the highest market, which is Kenya, still having less than 10% in terms of the fixed broadband household penetration. So this shows that the region has very high opportunity for growth, and especially if the key challenge of the fixed network infrastructure and the development can be fixed. A lot is happening in terms of laying fiber cables, and I think this is a good thing in terms of promoting the growth in the fixed broadband market. Now let's look at the mobile technology splits In 2021, we saw that GSM was the dominant technology, accounting for 47% market share, closely followed by 3G at 40% and 4G at 12.5%. So again, this is a clear indication that mobile broadband technologies are not as developed as other regions, and there still exists a lot of opportunity for growth, and particularly in the 4G. But we've seen service providers and particularly the mobile network operators putting in a lot of money in terms of expanding for their 4G network coverage and capacity. And over the next 5 years, we expect this trend to change quite significantly, in the sense that we should expect GSM to decline quite sharply, and 3G and 4G, and also 5G increasing quite significantly. In the fixed broadband market, DSL and fiber dominated the market in 4Q in 2021. But fiber was slightly higher than DSL, and the reason for this development is due to the fact that incumbent operators have been replacing their copper networks with fiber. And also there has been a lot of new entrants in the market, particularly in the FTTH and FTTB market, and this has seen a lot of uptake for the fiber-based fixed broadband products. But we cannot forget the fixed wireless access technology, which is also becoming very popular in the market. And this is due to the fact that with the expansion in 4G and also 3G, and also with the launch of 5G, most consumers are also opting to go for the fixed wireless access over these technologies, and particularly in areas where we do not have the fiber connectivity. So FWA is becoming a very viable alternative for fiber in areas where we have little or no fiber network coverage. Now let's look at the forecast. In the mobile segment, we expect the mobile subscriptions for the East Africa region to grow by 34%. And by the end of 2026, we should have about slightly over 400 million mobile subscribers. In terms of technologies, 4G and 5G are expected to be the fastest growing technologies. And this will be supported by the increasing demand for mobile broadband services, and particularly the ultra fast mobile broadband services. So consumers are opting for fast broadband services due to some of the services that they want to access. Talk about the mobile gaming, the video streaming. These are services which require very high bandwidth, and 4G and 5G technologies are promising to deliver that, and that's why we project that these will be the fastest growing technologies in the region. In the fixed broadband segment, fiber will continue to grow very strongly, and also the fixed wireless access over 4G and 5G. In fact, the growth rates will be slightly higher than the total fixed broadband subscriptions growth rate during the forecast period. And as I said before, the FWA is expected to grow very, very fast due to the fact that most consumers are opting for FWA in areas where they cannot be able to access fiber-based broadband services. Now let's switch gear to the data traffic, and looking at the three main East Africa countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, we project that the cellular data traffic will grow significantly over the next 5 years. And we attribute this growth to a strong uptake for data and digital services. And this is also due to the fact that we see a sharp increase in we project a sharp increase in smartphone penetration due to increased affordability. And also, mobile network operators are increasingly making their mobile data packages quite affordable to the consumers. And this is in one way promoting the uptake of the mobile data services. So overall, we should expect the mobile data traffic to increase tremendously. And this actually applies to all countries across the region. So with the smartphone subscriptions, we expect that between the three countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, we'll have about 103 million total smartphone subscriptions by the end of 2026. And this will be about 45% growth rate. And this strong growth is attributed to the increased affordability of smart devices in the region. As well, obviously, over the last few years, we've seen very many new entrants coming into the smartphone market, and I think this is a trend that we should look forward to, whereby we'll have a wide variety, or consumers will have a wide variety of smart devices to choose from. And also this will be quite affordable. Now let's look at the regulatory update. In Kenya, the government introduced the biometric SIM registration. The deadline was supposed to be the end of the start of April this year, but that has been extended by 6 months to October. And this obviously is expected to give consumers or mobile subscribers enough time to complete the registration processes. As we should expect, not all SIM cards will be registered, so there is a possibility of some decline in the number of mobile subscriptions, and especially towards the end of the year. The government also is in the process of publishing a 5G roadmap, which is a document that details the plan and timelines for the deployment of the 5G technology in the country. This is quite important in the sense that with timelines and guidance in terms of when operators should expect to be allocated spectrum, then I think in one way or the other, it's going to facilitate for a faster deployment of the technology. Another thing is in terms of the DST, the Digital Services Tax, which was introduced last year. So after implementing it for a period of 12 months, the government plans to double the DST rates from 1.5% to 3% of the total digital income. The overall impact of this development is in terms of slowing down the uptake of some of the digital services. So this may not be immediate, but over a period of time, we might see that service or digital service providers may not be able to attain the kind of growth they are projecting before. Tanzania is also opting or is also planning to introduce the same type of a tax, and the impact should be the same as that of Kenya. In Ethiopia, the government postponed the sale of the 40% minority stake in Ethio Telecom. And also within during the fourth quarter of 2021, it's also postponed the issuance of the second operating license. So this obviously is going to slow the plan the government had in terms of in inspiring competition in the telecoms market, and also liberalizing the telecom market by introducing competition and also breaking down the monopoly in the sector. So we know that a Safaricom-led consortium was issued with a license, and they're actually in the process of launching a commercial service by the end of this year. In Djibouti, government is also plans to sell the minority stake in Djibouti Telecom, which is a good development in terms of ending the monopoly of the Djibouti Telecom. As we know, Djibouti Telecom is a monopoly. So at least with the government planning to sell some minority stake, it's a good way of liberalizing the market, and in the future we should expect that the government is also going to attract some new players in the market to spur the much needed competition in that market. Under the trends, the key trends in the market, the first one is 5G, which we at Omdia project that it's going to be a key technology to spur growth in the region. So far, Africa has about 8 commercial 5G networks, but with the issuance of licenses and spectrum allocation across 5 other markets, and also with the fact that we do have some 5G network trials currently underway in certain markets, then we should expect the number of commercial deployments to increase towards the end of the year and also in 2023. So due to that, we project that the 5G subscriptions will increase to about 120 million by the end of 2026. And this is compared to about 8.5 million that we have projected for the end of 2022. So for the service providers who have already launched the 5G service, the key focus for now is looking for ways to monetize the service and also to increase the coverage of the service. But in doing this, there are particular challenges in terms of spectrum and also in terms of device availability and compatibility. And I think this is something that we feel that it needs to be addressed so that we can be able to spur the growth of the 5G market. The other trend that we see that is going to be a key, it's going to be key in East Africa is the mobile fintech. And this is an area where service providers have been generating very good income. In fact, at Omdia, we project that by the end of 2026, the mobile financial services sector in Africa will generate about 10.3 billion in revenue. And this will be a 143% growth from 2020. This growth is attributed to the strong uptake of the service, with active subscriptions projected to increase by 118% to slightly over 300 million by the end of 2026. So one of the key things that most service providers are focusing on is in terms of expanding the ecosystem so that they can be able to accommodate more or a wide variety of services, and obviously so that they can be able to monetize other digital services using the MFS platforms. So in the month of April, we conducted a survey on MFS across Africa, and we wanted to get some insights on what consumers and service providers feel about the service. And some of the findings are that in terms of the top MFS segments by subscriptions, we have the peer-to-peer or person-to-person transfer, and also airtime purchases accounting for the largest share of 80%, while micro lending and micro savings accounting for 20%. And in terms of this revenue, we see that the P2P transfers and payments, which in this case also includes the e-commerce, accounting for 80%, while airtime purchases accounting for only 20%. So looking at the next 5 years, our consumers and service providers feel that the top MFS segments in terms of subscriptions will be the P2P transfer, and followed by the P2P transfer and payments will have the same or had the same score from our respondents, and also payments in terms of the utility bills will contribute about 25% of the total subscriptions. So the other segments are mainly in the international remittance, and also in the micro lending and micro savings, and also the airtime purchase. So another trend is on the green ICT, which at Omdia we feel that definitely with the increased focus in environmental conservation, service providers in the telecoms sector will start to focus on how they can be able to adopt green ICT in their network infrastructure and also in their strategies. So this, or the best way to do this is through partnerships, because it's faster, and also due to some of the success stories we've had across East Africa in terms of some of the few service providers who have partnered for the green ICT. So a key area where service providers can really benefit is obviously in terms of connecting their sites with green ICT or solar power, and especially in areas where we do not have, or in areas that are not connected to the national grid. And also they could partner with other service providers to promote the uptake of the broadband services. So in doing this, service providers could be able to actually benefit through increasing their service adoption and the broadband service adoption, and also expanding their network coverage, particularly in the areas which are remote and underserved, and also unserved. So as part of my last part of the presentation, I present our view at Omdia, and the first part is in terms of the mobile broadband. So we feel that in East Africa, 3G and 4G technologies will dominate the mobile broadband segment, and will account for about 95% of the total mobile broadband subscriptions by 2026. So 5G will also feature as one of the region's fastest growing technology. And well, this can only happen if certain particular challenges are solved, and the key challenge for now is the availability of spectrum, and also the devices in terms of availability and also the compatibility. So we also feel that with increased 3G, 4G, and 5G deployment, then we're also going to see an increase in the adoption of fixed wireless access technologies. And this is particularly in areas where we do not have fiber connectivity. In terms of the mobile financial services, we feel that based on our projections, the region is going to record very high growth in terms of the adoption of MFS. And due to this, service providers obviously can be able to increase their revenue streams by adopting new services. So through the expansion of the MFS ecosystem, service providers can be able to introduce a wide range of services. But in addition to that, they could also leverage the expanded MFS ecosystem to monetize other digital service offering. As we are aware, almost all service providers today have a digital strategy in place, and they are at different levels of implementing the strategy. So MFS really is a very good platform to monetize most of these services. And that's the end of my presentation, and I welcome a few questions from the audience. Thank you for listening in.